Hello, both sides of the conversation family. We welcome you to this virtual space crafted especially for you. My name is Jada Curry, and I'm both sides of the conversation's marketing director and graphics design specialist. I want to take some time to ground us all as a community into this space we are about to open up in, so let's go through our community standards. Both sides of the conversation is providing a safe and honest space for open conversation, so we ask that you all be respectful of that. We also ask that you be respectful of each panelist, host, and participant. We do encourage healthy debates and conversations. Don't personalize anything with anyone. This includes name-calling, bullying, trolling, or shaming. This will not be allowed or tolerated. Your perspective is yours. It is not a prescription. You do not have to agree, but show respect. These community standards apply to all of our live shows and any virtual spaces that we hold on social media, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We want to make sure that we are caring for each other as a community. This is our priority in all of our endeavors as both sides of the conversation. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's show and continue to stay in touch with us via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or all of them. All right, thank you for listening and see you soon.
Welcome, everybody, to both sides of the conversation. I'm John Henry, Executive Director. Today is Sunday, so you know what that means. We're going to have another Sunday conversation. As you all see, we've been getting bit by this internet bug. I don't know what's going on with the internet service across the Bay Area, but people have been struggling. I don't know if it's from the previous storm or is it just the work that's still going on. But again, we're trying to work these problems out. But thank you all for being here today. For all of our new followers, people just tuning in today for the first time, every Sunday, we are here for a community conversation as we continue to try to tackle the taboo conversation, the stigma conversations that impact our Black and brown communities And today we have another great conversation. We're talking about generational curses. We're talking about how do we break them? How do we get through them? How do we teach the next generation a new way, a new ideal? How do we connect the next generation? We have some elders here, community. Tune in today. I want to give a huge shout out to the Philadelphia Eagle fans. They took out my Niners today. Okay, y'all see, I'm not hating. Okay, it was a tough day. Okay, but you can't do it with one quarterback, two quarterbacks, three quarterbacks. At some point, we're going to take a loss. But today, to all the Niner fans, congratulations. Still was a great season. Just taking off and doing the things that we did. But again, we did lose to the Philadelphia Eagles today. So congratulations to that city. I know they're celebrating and having a good day. And I know all the Niner fans want to go to Arizona and celebrate for the Super Bowl. It ain't our year. We'll just keep pushing along. Have no fear. The Purdy is here. He'll be around for a long time. And we just going to keep building. And it's time to gear over to our Warriors and get ready for our Warriors this year. I am excited about that. And we're going to continue to push through. I see my co-host is here, Pretty Tony. Welcome, Pretty Tony. Holla at the people today.
Are you okay, John? You need some tissue? I got Amazon sending you some tissue right now. See, there you go, brother. What's up, community? Happy Sunday. I'm so happy to be here. Today is going to be a very, very important discussion that we're going to have. If this is your first time on this platform, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your co-host, Tony Rochelle. If you've never been on this platform before, this is our platform. This is y'all platform. We have two perspectives. So get ready for a beautiful conversation. Hey. You all right, John? You all right?
Tony, you know what? You know what, Tony? I couldn't talk
I
about
I got my gray and blue on today for Cowboys. You see, I ain't got no red or no green on.
I couldn't catch you last week. I couldn't catch you last week with your Cowboys because you was out of town. But you know what? It's okay. Cowboy fans, we did our job. We took you out, so we'll take that. All right. That being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's community announcements and some of the things for the events that's taking place in our community. And Sister Khalees, go ahead. She's one of our co-hosts, part of our production team. What you got to say to the people today, Khalees?
It's a good day. It's a good day in the community. I'm so excited to have this conversation today. I've been waiting all week. Nonetheless, we know the Raiders have been out, but guess what? I'm here today. So let's have this conversation.
Not the Raiders. All right. With that being said, community, we just always want to make sure that we update community with the information for the people. That's what we do here. Also, so everybody know there's a freeze warning going in effect here in the Bay Area for the next couple of days. Community, be safe. Bring the dogs in house. It is very cold outside, and these temperatures are dropping. A number of community and cities are putting in freeze warnings throughout the Bay Area for the next couple of days. Wear a coat. Make sure when you send the young people off to school, they have scarves and hoodies and all of that, because it will be chilly. Today has been a freezing day around the Bay. So just make sure that you're doing your part. Look out for the people that's in the community, our unhoused folks, and make sure that they get self-sheltered. There's a number of shelters who are opening up their doors to make sure that they have heat. But again, this cool weather will be here for the next couple of days. So please, community, be alert and just make sure that you're looking out for those who are unhoused. Also in the news, a Richmond High School teacher has been fired after slamming a student to the ground. This was a violent event that went on a video, went viral after a teacher and student was exchanging words. And I guess the teacher grabbed the young man and slammed him to the floors. So the Contra Costa County school district is looking into it. They say the student had made racial slurs prior to the incident. There's an investigation going on, but they did fire the substitute teacher, and he may be finding misdemeanor charges or charges of assault. Again, it is terrible when we have adults in the community, especially in our schools, working with our young people. We have to have discipline. We have to be able to deal with some of the enragement and some of the things that our young people deal with. And we have to make sure that we have the right professionals working with our young people. There's a lot of trauma, a lot of things happening, and we need to make sure that we have the right staff working with our young people in our schools. So we'll keep community update as we find more. I'll be reaching out and see if we can find a little bit more details for community. But again, these type of incidents are taking on in our community, and this is tragic. Also, the Oakland mayor had called for peaceful protests ahead of the Tyree Nichols video being released. I know all people across this country have been impacted by this police brutality. It's very, very disheartening, very disgusting to to see the type of community policing that is continuing to happen in our community. And I know a lot of folks, there's been conversations on right-wing radio shows, left-wing radio shows. Again, it's a blue wall that we have to talk about. It doesn't matter if it's Black officers. It doesn't matter if it's Latin officers. We have an issue when it comes to policing in our community, and it's still happening. And again, it doesn't matter if it's Black officers, Latin officers, white officers. As community, we have to have a conversation. We're going to do our part and reach out to our local law enforcement to see if we can get Chief Scott from the San Francisco Police Department on here and reach out to the chief in Oakland. Again, this is unacceptable. Okay, and I need our community to be a little bit more together in solidarity when it comes to these issues. When there's white officers putting these type of events and happening in our community, we are burning up our cities and everything. We got to have the same energy. I'm not saying burn up the place, but I'm saying stick together. We can't just say because these was Black officers, we turn our head down. It is unfortunate those officers behaved in that manner. I know a bunch of them have been fired and released. Again, you see how the treatment is done when white officers do it. There's a delay. There's a process. These Black officers were released immediately, given the footage that was put out to the community. I know it's very triggering for a lot of families. And again, the real conversation is for community, for folks who don't understand why the Black and brown community have so much issues with policing in our community. Okay, these are the type of incidents that take place a lot of times that don't make the news. So just remember, this was another one that was caught on video. Again, how many times these disgusting police that are in our community do these type of acts to our community that go unseen or unnoticed. But again, thank God for those videos and footage to help that family out. And it is a shame some of the audio that we can hear what officers was already doing, planning their speeches that they were going to say why they did this. It's just very terrible. So we got some real conversation that's got to happen. Again, community, it is not over. After George Floyd, a lot of our community folks have taken a foot off the gas when we talk about police brutality and some of the things that's been taking place in our community. Where's Congress at? Okay, we had a George Floyd bill up there that still haven't got passed. Okay, community, we have to stop taking our foot off the gas and thinking, hey, it's okay because these families got settlement. Real equity, real justice come when things go all the way through. So we still got a lot of work. There's a lot of community organizing that still needs to happen. We got to continue to hold these elected officials together to make sure that we get these police brutality acts in place in law, because again, our community gets hit the hardest with that. Also, because of the rising eggs costs, okay, they have now more Bay Area residents, people in the Central Valley buying hens and different things of that nature, trying to make eggs. So some people backyards is going to get real noisy with the roosters and hens running around laying eggs. But again, the prices of eggs are very high. I had to buy some eggs today, and let me tell you, it was very expensive. When I seen $7.50 for 12 eggs, I almost passed out, community. I don't want a scrambled egg no more if it's going to cost me that much. But again, inflation is going up. Things is hitting our community hard. And again, community, I'm telling you, we got to do our part to start investing and making sure that we're doing the things to make sure our discretionary funds and our investments and savings are being there. We are in some critical times here in this country as the continued mass layoffs is continuing to happen. We have to better prepare. We're going to continue to do our part to make sure that we continue to bring our financial literacy coaches on this platform to help educate our community. We had a great educational presentation on Thursday about financial literacy, and we're going to continue to keep up those conversations. With that being said, we're going to jump into our community announcements, some of the things that are taking place across the Bay Area and beyond. We're going to start off with the Oakland Housing Authority accepting pre-applications. Okay, January 17th through January 31st. 4 p.m. The website is up on the screen. We should be making sure that we reach out to the community and get as many of folks. We know this unhoused issue has been impacting Oakland, San Francisco, across this Bay Area. There is an opportunity for some families that can apply, and I want to make sure that we get this information out to the community. So please go to the website there and fill it out. If you know any folks who need that information, please make sure you send it out to them as well. Also, the African American Historical Culture Society Black History Month is taking place. And These events are still going to be taking place all the way through Black History Month. A host of events is starting from February 3rd. They are kicking it off at City Hall in San Francisco, and there are going to be events all throughout the month of February. So the City Hall event is going to be happening from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., and we're going to make sure that community get out there. Our lovely Mayor, London Breed, is going to be leading that off with a number of our elected city officials to talk about how do we move forward as Black folks during this month. How do we bring this education information to our community? How do we build the Black ecosystem? That's what it's really all about. Also, the Fillmore Rhyme and Rhythm and Blues and Rhyme Show is taking place February the 3rd, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the Peacock Lounge in San Francisco at 552 Haight Street in San Francisco. If you like blues and you into rhythm and blues, go check out this amazing show that's taking place. They're going to be up there having a great time. A lot of folks in the community coming out to get some great music in these times. I think the blues will get us through. We need to go listen to some blues. All right. Also, the 2023 City Job Fair is taking place February the 4th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Community, come out ready to go. Young folks, people are looking for jobs. I know there's been about 250,000 losses of jobs over these last couple of weeks. Come out ready to go. Be dressed to impress. Bring your resume. Bring your reference letter. Get ready, okay? Come ready. There might be an opportunity for you to get a job, and there's many more of these events coming up, and we will get them out to community. Also, the New Beginnings Community Festival is happening on the Kirkwood Early Learning Center at 729 Kirkwood Avenue, February the 4th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The link is in the bio there below. Make sure y'all get out and check out what's going on with that. Also, save the date. The second annual Give Back Day is happening. That's also February the 4th at Gilman Playground from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. They are still looking for volunteers and folks to give out donations to help support this event. The forms and information is there up on the screen, and we'll make sure that we get that out to community and on all our social media handles. Also, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors hearing on the draft of the reparation plans. I know y'all heard about San Francisco talking about giving $5 million to Black descendants of slaves here in San Francisco. There's a lot of talks going on, but the Board of Supervisors have received the draft letter, and they're going to be looking through it and trying to have conversations. And hopefully, we get a vote up close coming soon. And we want all of our folks in the Black community, please show up to these meetings. All right, hear what's going on. Don't be just in the loop, letting these folks make decisions on the behalf of our ancestors. So again, we want community to show up. The information is up on the screen, how to connect, but definitely check out and hear what's going on. Also, the inauguration of San Francisco Public Defender, Mr. Mayo, is happening February the 8th. 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Southeast Community Center. He's going to be getting sworn in at 1550 Evans Street. The public defender has been doing some amazing work. He came on this platform as well. Let's make sure that we get out and support him as he's continuing to fight for justice in the community and fight for some of these issues that take place with our police and community. So he will be getting sworn in. So community, show up to the 1550 Evans Street at the new Southeast Community Center. Also, save the date for the Dreaming Forward celebration of Black Joy, Power, and Excellence. It's taking place February the 9th, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is an all-day event. This is part of the Dreamkeeper Initiative. This is going to be a great, great event. We'll be out there as well. Y'all see me and the team out there again as we are continuing to bring together Black power, Black excellence in our city and having conversations. How do we create sustainability? How do we create this Black ecosystem? It takes a lot of us. We got to continue to come together in solidarity to move things forward. Also, the Office of Small Business and Flood Disaster Relief Grants are going out. Application deadlines are coming up February the 10th at 5 p.m. If you have been impacted here in California with floods, waters, any kind of impact or damage from the previous storms that just went by, there is some grant funding to help with doing roofs and heating and things of that nature. Please look at the website, the link below. It's for nonprofits. So if you are one of those folks, please reach out and get some of those services. Also, the DKI Community Update meeting is taking place February the 16th, 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. The registration link is up there. If you want to know what's going on, where's the money going, who's doing the work, who are the grantees, what are some of the upcoming events, that's where you want to go to see what's going on. So hopefully community will see you there. For those, you can log in. Our musical contest is taking place. Coming near on February the 17th. And then they're going to have another contest date actually on the 23rd from 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. That is put on by our San Francisco Alliance of Black School Educators. Their website information is up on the screen. Please check it out because that's what it's all about, getting our young people involved. And they're going to be doing some amazing stuff. Shout out to all of our educators in San Francisco that are always working to make sure our small percentage of young Black folks are getting support in programming. Also, the African American Historical Culture Society Black History Month celebration is taking place on February the 18th. They're going to be doing a lot of resources for genealogy. African Americans is going to be having at City Hall, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. For more information, please go to the links on the screen up there and check out what's going on. Also, our Both Sides of the Conversation annual bowling event is happening February 18th, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Seabowl in Pacifica. The information is up on the screen. We are still taking sponsors of folks that want to sponsor the event. Please go to info@bsotc. Also, we're going to be having our 3 essay contests for young people. They're going to be winning $500 for each essay. We put that information. The close the date is going to be coming up on February the 11th. So for all the community families, if you have young people, we want to hear from them. We're doing an essay contest for elementary students, middle school students, as well as high school students. Each group will be winning $500 and getting an award for their essays. And we're going to be talking about things, how it impacts our youth for Black history, what it means to them, things of that nature. And we'll be announcing the winners before the event. Remember, families, all winners have to come to our event and be present. If they don't, we will be giving it to the next person that is a runner-up. So make sure that if you enroll in your young folks, okay, you could bring them to the event so they could get acknowledged in their awards. All right. Also, the in-person legal cafe is happening for small business owners February 22nd, 12 p.m. to 1:45. This is at 9400 International Boulevard in Oakland. They're going to be talking about sustainability, economics law, different things of that nature for our small businesses. Get out there. Check it out. You got a small business. You want to make sure that you get the information as well. Some of the ongoing events that's continuing. If you are one of those folks out there looking for the monkeypox vaccination, flu vaccination, please remember every Thursday from 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. on 701 Alabama Street in San Francisco. Folks could pull up without appointment and get those vaccinations. They are still doing it ongoing. Also, the Peace Parks is still presenting their Friday night fun for our young people. If you have young people in San Francisco that would like to be a part of this, please bring them out every Friday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at 1600 Gary Boulevard at the Hamilton Rec Center. They are doing a number of things. This is violence prevention measure. They are doing haircuts, games, a number of things, conversation, peer mentoring. It's a space for young folks to come together so that they're not on our streets during the Friday night evening. So make sure you sign them up, get them out there to the Hamilton Rec Center on Friday nights, let them enjoy some other young folks so they can engage and keep them off the streets. Also, the Saturday Family Fun Days is still happening every second and fourth Saturday of the month. All of the sporting events, field trips, and things that they're going to be doing for families in our youth. Reach out to my guy, Nate Ford at SF Rebels. The email address is up on the screen, or it should be coming up on the screen shortly. We want to make sure that community knows how to reach out to them and check out all the work that they are doing. And shout out to the Rebels. Shout out to Nate for continuing to make sure that they put programming together for our families and for our young people during these times of financial crisis. We know that discretionary funds get tight, all right, and people are looking for ways to still be able to enjoy community and be out with their young people. With that being said, our Both Sides of the Conversation capacity building fundraiser is still going on. We are keeping it open. If you would like to support us and help out some of the work that we are doing, we are looking forward to those folks to help us out. Also, a couple of job announcements up, okay? We'll get that up on the screen. The San Francisco Children Council is recruiting a community outreach manager, okay? It's a full-time position, and the salary range is $75,000 to $85,000 a year. There's a link on the screen. Go to the Children Council in San Francisco. There are some jobs there for community. I know folks be looking for work. We're trying to give out as much of this information we can to help folks, and we'll get this out to all of our social media handles. Also, UCSF Facility Service has a number of job openings. We put the link up there. We will get the flyer out to the community. We have already shared with the community. There's about 35 janitorial positions. There's HVAC, plumbing, painters, trying to get some of those trade workers. Go check out the website. Check out what's going on in UCSF facilities. Maybe that's you. You have that trade background. Some great opportunities out there for community. With that being said, our both sides of the conversation volunteer seeking is still going on. We are still looking for folks to come help us and support the work that we are doing in the community. And we are looking for those folks. If that is you, reach out to us, hit our website, check our Join the Squad, check out our volunteer opportunities, and we'll make sure that we have someone reach out to you and connect with you. Our Amazon Smile is going away. I'm not even going to talk about it no more, okay? Amazon Smile is going away. Amazon has made the decision because of the large amount of nonprofits that are doing this and just the cost to do it. They're not going to be doing it anymore. So we're not even going to promote it, but Amazon Smile is going away. Again, if you want to support us, there's a number of ways you can support us. Go to our website. There's a donation button there. If you would like to help out or sponsor, there's opportunities. Please go to our website and check out that. For all of the new folks watching, go to all of our social media handles and connect with us. See what we're doing. We on all social media sites. We on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We are everywhere. Go to our YouTube. Check us out. Connect with both sides of the conversation and see the work that we are doing to impact community. And maybe that is you. Maybe you see some of the things that you're doing and say, hey, I want to join. I want to be a part of this. I like what y'all doing. It's a lot of movement happening, and we thank the folks who continue to support us. Also, our upcoming live show is this Tuesday. Our next live show will be Tuesday, January 31st at 7 p.m. That is our Hidden Gem segment for folks trying to find out. That is our segment where we highlight our Black and brown businesses, our community leaders, and folks in our community that are doing positive things to impact community. So check out our next live show on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Also, next Thursday, for our Educational Thursday, we're going to have a phenomenal guest coming on talking about clinical depression, and that's going to be February the 2nd at 7 p.m. So community, tune in, okay? We got to make sure that we're educating our community and keeping these conversations going, but we are getting to the end of it. I know people are saying, Bishop, we heard enough of you. Shut up, Bishop. Come on. We're going to talk a little bit about generational curses today. When we talk about generational curses, we talk about the things that are passed down generation to generation. Some of it ain't always the right thing. I know we young folks, we look up to the adults in our families. And sometimes they give us the bad information, okay? And we just keep going and we keep passing this thing. But we're going to talk about how to end some of these toxic patterns. And we're going to talk about how we're going to break through as community. This is a community conversation. All of the community folks, make sure you get in the chats, okay? If you're on YouTube, use the live chat function. If you're on Facebook, use the chat function. Ask questions. Put your 2 cents in. This is a conversation for our community. We have to have it, all right? We're not running from these conversations, and we're excited today. So, with that being said, enough of me. I know y'all like, we've heard enough, Bishop. Get to the people. Let's talk about these generational curses. All right. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and introduce our panelists that are joining today. We'll give each one of them a couple of minutes to just introduce themselves, and we'll do it one by one. So, with that being said, we're going to bring up the Bishop, Bishop Anthony. Welcome to both sides of the conversation. Bishop, holla at the people. Oh, you got to unmute yourself, Bishop, to see the Bishop wasn't ready. That's why I'm the Bishop. You wasn't ready, Bishop.
Thank you. Thank you for an opportunity to participate in this very important conversation. My name is Bishop Anthony Willis. I am a senior pastor of the Lily of the Valley Christian Center. I have pastoral experience for over 30 years, a marital experience of 45 years. I just celebrated 45 years in October of last year. 6 children. One was murdered at the age of 22 years old. So I understand both sides of the spectrum of the joy side and the side of sorrow. And 12 grandchildren. And I'm just here to participate. I'm excited. Thank you for the invite. And I hope that I can bring something to the table. God bless you. Thank you.
Man, thank you, Bishop. And just for the people out there, because I always get people trying to text message me. So I got to explain to everybody. No, I'm not a bishop in the pulpit, okay? My community, okay? My both sides of the conversation team, they said, hey, we're going to call you Bishop. That's going to be your new nickname because all you do is preach, okay? So people that's asking, are you a real preacher? No, I'm not a real preacher, but I am a preacher for the people, okay? So the community gave me that name. I just want to educate everybody why y'all hear me say the Bishop, because that's what they call me, okay? They say, you are the Bishop. All right. So that's why. But we have a real bishop here today. Y'all can ask him all the pulpit questions. All right. All right. With that being said, we're going to bring another bishop, a pastor. Miss Trina, welcome back to both sides of the conversation.
Amen.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. I am excited to be here. I'm Pastor Trina Turner, and I'm an executive pastor at Victory and Praise Church in Stockton. And I'm also married, trailing the bishop. I'm right at 44 years married, and also know a little bit about trauma. I've had a grandson that we lost to tragedy, to an in-home accident at 2 years of age. And just recently, I lost my only dear son in July, just this past July. And as we go into it, we'll talk more about just some of the trauma that exists in our community. But just wanting to share that to say, yes, steeped in the Word of God and what it has to say, and also lived experience in our community. So I'm excited, and thank you for having me back on both sides of the conversation to get into this topic today.
Thank you. We are happy that you are here because you have a phenomenal perspective. And I know this conversation is going to get good. We're not even going to need a light to get this firecracker to pop today. This is going to be a great one. All right. With that being said, we're going to bring up Miss Linda. Welcome to both sides of the conversation, Queen. You got to unmute yourself.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I was trying to get my computer to work. Okay. I am Pastor Linda Hillman. I am senior pastor of New Life Ministries in San Francisco, California. I'm also a business owner twice over, and I'm excited about being here. I too have lots of thoughts about generational curses, from the spiritual aspect, from the mental aspect, from the emotional aspect. So I'm excited to be here to talk about this conversation with you all.
Wow, thank you. We are honored to have you here as well. Last but not least, my brother from another 49er fan. He's not feeling too good today, but you know what? He's here. Brother James Johnson. Welcome to both sides of the conversation, Keith.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm definitely privileged to be here. My name is James Johnson. I'm the associate pastor at Victory and Praise Church in Stockton and principal broker for Johnson Realty Group. I'm excited to be here. I think, to be here with these panelists. I've been married not quite as long as Pastor Trina and Bishop Willis, but my wife and I have been married now. It'll be 20 years in May. So you know what? It feels like I've been married as long as they have, but no, I haven't. But definitely, I'm excited to be here and prayerfully can offer some thoughts and perspective and be additive to today's conversation. And lastly, I will say this: is Niners all day. It's the gang always, no matter what. So anyway, that's it.
Thank you very much, King. We are honored to have you here as well. And I can't wait to hear from the bishop, because he said he has 12 grandkids. Okay. We talking about generational curses. He got some conversations that got to happen with 12 grandchildren. I only have one, Bishop. Okay. And this one is giving me trouble like 12. Okay. And we got to figure this one out. But with that being said, we're going to jump into today's conversation. Community, this is a popcorn style conversation. You're going to hear from all of our panelists today. And we're just going to open the floor up because, again, I want to make sure out of this conversation today, every time we have these conversations, there's a number of things that we want to get out of these conversations. The first thing is we want to educate community about these generational curses. What does it mean? What does it look like? All right. Second thing is identifying the struggles, the problems within identifying the understanding of today's topic. Thirdly, how do we together as a panelist come up with a solution or our perspective? How do we fix it? All right. And then lastly, before we leave today, we want to make sure that we give out some type of resources for our folks in the community, whether that's through text, email, any kind of services that folks have in the community. Put it there, because these conversations are real. They are powerful. And again, we just want to make sure that our community is impacted with the resources and the information so they can tackle these issues. But after today, somebody's life is going to be changed. Somebody is going to feel the conversation. And we're going to start movement in our community. So with that being said, I'm going to open the floor up to anybody that want to kick it off. Talk to me, y'all. Tell me what this generational curses is all about. We might have somebody that's like, what are they talking about? Generational curses. Let's kind of give them a narrative of what this looks like and how we impact community. Now open up to whoever, and we'll just move it around.
Well, my understanding of generational curses is things that reoccur. One of the ways that I like to look at it is I was molested as a child. And when I started going to therapy and really talking about it and dealing with it, one, that wasn't something that people were encouraging me. One, because I was in church. Two, because I come from a Black family, and so we keep things, what happens in the home stays in the home. But when you know Jesus, you just pray about it. But when I started going to therapy, I started being introduced to the possibility that this might have been something that happened in the person that did it to me in their life, and it was ongoing. And so when you talk about generational curses, there may be things that you do that you don't even understand why you do them, but it's something in your DNA that drives you into that, or something that's always occurring and it's just ever going. And until we face it and deal with it, it can't be broken.
Wow, phenomenal. Anybody else jump in there? We're gonna move it around and then we just gonna open it up. Go ahead.
I want to say, by definition, generational curses is the passing down of sinful behavior that gets replicated in the next generation. And one thing that I want to say that I want us all to really think about it, both spiritually and naturally, but understand that we got to be sure that we don't put generational curses in place of bad choices. Because sometimes it's not that something has happened to all of us. It's something that we've seen and we've chose to do that. And so I think that it's imperative that we some kind of way navigate and understand that, like Pastor, she gave the testimony of what happened to her, and I'm sure she's free now and the Lord has blessed her. But for everyone else, or not everyone else, but for others, it hasn't always been something that happened to them. It was a choice that they made, and we deemed it as a generational curse.
That's very powerful, Bishop. I'm glad you pointed that out in that way, because we hear it now in our relationship realm as well, right? Everybody's talking about red flags and different things. I think in the community, we hold on to these, what they call them, high flash words and things, and we try to use it for everything. So I like how you put that in there. But Pastor Trina, go ahead, jump in there, Queen.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is such, I think, an interesting topic, and it's so many different layers to it. We being our faith belief and, on the holy text, yes, we know that sin is the core, right? And so we have scripture, and I pulled up a couple because I knew we wanted to go here to the scripture. So that Exodus is ones that typically come up, and it's Exodus 34, 6 and 7. And I have it up here poised in the New Living Translation. And this is speaking right at the time when Moses had destroyed the first set of tablets, and he went back and was presenting them again. And it says, and he passed in front of Moses, proclaiming, the Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, is slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, maintaining in love to thousands, and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin. Yet he does not leave the guilty unpunished. He punishes the children for the sin of the fathers to the third and fourth generations. Now that's in the New Living Translation. The King James says he lays the sins of the parents, of the fathers to the third and fourth generation of the children. So we have that, and we have to sit in that says and lets us know that there is some direct connection and tie-in to sins that was created by the Father, but then it's contrasted, even not it doesn't contradict, but there is a comparative scripture in Ezekiel that says the person who sins is the one who will die. The child will not be punished for their parent's sin, and the parent will not be punished for the child's sins. Righteous people will be rewarded for their own righteous behavior, and wicked people will be punished for their own wickedness. So to understand the contrast, we have to understand that the words from Exodus portray a picture of God. And that picture tells us that, yes, he's slow to anger and abounding in love, but he will forgive, which is what Christ was all about when he came. And the thing I want to tie up and say in that, it's the interesting saying, because I kept trying to run that around in my mind, saying, now we see generational trauma, we know it's real, we know that it's passed down in some manner. The best, I guess, descriptor that I found for it was, I saw a writing and it says, generational trauma is a cycle that can be contributed to a sinful action, right? Then this writer, John Piper, came and said, sin is like a contagious disease. So my children don't suffer because I have the contagious disease. They catch it from me, and then they suffer because they have it. So that sinful action can explode and gain control in our lives before we realize it. So they replicate what they've seen me do. And by them replicating the behavior, they are now also in sin. But sin has a death to it in and of itself based on the one that created the sin. But God is faithful and just to forgive. And I think we lay too long in, oh, well, I'm like this because of my mama, because of my daddy, because of my grandparents. However, there is a way of escape. There's a way out of that. So yes, sin being the root, but we know that when Christ came, that darkness, sin, all of that has now an end to it if we accept that end. And I don't think we're going to do anything about that unless we, first of all, acknowledge that we are operating in something that has been cyclical in our life, and we recognize it, name it, and then we can do something about it.
So I have a question about this.
Mhm.
So my grandmother was very, very strict, and I'm born and raised here in Stockton. And so I've witnessed several families out here. Every generation, I mean, there's a laundry list of all the men go to prison. Prison every generation. I mean, it's like a dark cloud over these families. I mean, you got folks that are either dead or they going to prison. It's one or the other. Okay. And so also drug abuse. Yes, there's behaviors connected and choices that we make, but it seems like there's something on these families and these generations that just continue to happen. Help me to understand. Is it just history repeating itself? What is it? If we have this forgiving God, because my grandmother was very strict and she raised all her children, 13 of them in church. And so for her to instill all these good morals and values, tell me, why does it seem like no one gets it? Help me understand.
Yeah, to be helped, you have to want to be helped. And based on the trauma that you may have been exposed to or the cycles that you were exposed to, what does help even look like? See, for people that has been born, when you talk about people that's gone to jail over and over and over, there's a life cycle. There's some behaviors in that causes people, for the most part, because I can for sure argue we got a whole bunch of folk locked up that shouldn't be there, but that's not this conversation. But let's just stick with those that have, you don't know that things are broken or wrong, and this is not a normal behavior because it's what's been played out in front of me. And so if my granddaddy did it and my daddy did it, it just is my way of life. And it doesn't even seem something strange, right? And so it feels like right and ready behavior. So your grandmother, she's teaching, she's strict. And even in that, sometimes we can be really strict, but is there understanding with the strictness, right? And so we try to make people out of rote behavior sometimes do a certain thing, as opposed to truly introducing them to the God. The Jesus is the one that is our guide and our keeper and our helper and our controller and comforter and all those things, right? And sometimes we try to make ourselves be that. And I think that's when people sometimes go astray. They never did really get that understanding of the why. And my eyes see everything playing out in front of me different, Grandma, than what you're telling me. So I'm gonna let somebody else chime in too.
I think I gotta go back to the bishop, because I think Bishop Anthony hit the nail right on the head. We talk about choices. See, It doesn't matter how good your parents teach you. It doesn't matter how much you follow the Bible. If the choices that people are not being able to make will lead you down this pathway, you can listen to everybody, but it comes down to individual choice. And that's what we talk about, the mindset. How do we untrain and condition our mind to be open to other things? Because we can have all the leadership in the community. We have it. All right. But it comes down to what the reality is and the choice that people make. So we got to uncondition the mind. So I think Bishop Willis is onto something, because we got a lot of choices in our community. And choices that we didn't have before. But I think that's what it is. Go ahead, Bishop.
I think one thing that we need to understand, and we probably don't share about a lot, it's imperative that we surround ourselves with the right company. Right company. You have to be around the people that's going where you're desiring to be. There's some people that's just lazy and don't want anything out of life. And you want something out of life, you have to surround yourself with people that have accomplished life. And one thing, and I say, and I live in this generation, so I don't want anybody to feel like that I'm just doing personal for the young people. But one thing that we lack in this hour, and it's a word called accountability. accountability. Nobody wants to give an account for their own actions, and so we don't have anybody to talk to when it's time for us to do something wrong. We need people that we can account to. The Bible says like this: a child left to himself will bring his mother to shame. So when you're by yourself, left to your own thoughts, you're going to make the bad decision. Twice in the Bible says there is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. It's found Proverbs 14 and 12 and Proverbs 16 and 25. So it's imperative when it comes down to choice making that we've got to find people that are good for us, people that make us better, people that encourage us, that assure that we're going to be healthy people and be whole. This is what's happening even in relationships. What happens is because of bad choices, people now say, listen, when they meet us, they meet the worst part of us. They meet our worst stuff because of the choices that we have made in life. So generational curses are real. When you do deep study in generational curses, it really stops in the Old Testament under the law. We try to use it for today, but it really stops under the law, and it was really connected to idol worship. And one scripture says in Ezekiel, let me read this to you. Ezekiel 18 and 20. It starts out, well, let's start out. Ezekiel 18 and 1. It says, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, what mean ye that ye use the proverb concerning land of Israel, saying, the fathers have eaten sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set in edge. As I live, said the Lord, ye shall not have occasion anymore to use that proverb. It says, the soul that sinneth, it shall usually die, it shall surely die. It's really telling you that you can't make an excuse anymore about generational curses. You cannot. God has flipped the script when he died on the cross. He released us. That's why in the New Testament, you don't find nothing mentioned regarding generational curses. Because everybody now has to take responsibility for their own choices and their own actions.
So Bishop, I gotta push back a little bit here, okay?
Sure.
I want you to understand, okay? We got young people that's watching. I got families that's watching, and it's great.
Yes.
That we have the scriptures, we have the word, but I'm dealing with young people. They don't know the words.
Okay.
They don't know the scripture, okay?
Right.
And one of the problems that we're having in our community is there's a disconnect between the elders and the young people. So I'm glad you brought that up because we're going to get into that. But there's a disconnect. And a lot of our elders in the community are not willing to work with our young people. They are not willing to pass the torch to our young people. And that's one of the issues that I have. And I go at all these pastors across this country. And I tell them, y'all come on both sides of the conversation. We can have a conversation because I'm going to tell you what's going on right now. And one of the issues that we are having is when we talk about passing the torch and it taking too long, you look at the pulpits across the Bay Area. Some of the senior pastors are in there too long. How do we get the young pastors to step up? Why do we get out of this self-gratification for some of our elders? Okay, because this is turning off our young people. I'm with these young people. I listen to them and they say, how do we get involved? We have rallies going on. The young folks want to speak up. The elders take the mic. All right. So I think if we want to talk about accountability and how we fix the issue, the first thing I want to start with is our elders in the community. We know the young people got problems, but I think the young people problems come from adults. All right. So I want to make sure all the elders that are listening out there, all the mothers that are listening today, all the fathers that are listening today, understand our role and how we're passing off our stuff to these young folks. Because these young folks are saying, hey, John, why should I turn around? Look at these elders. We can't even work together. Some of the churches can't even work together. How are we supposed to tell young people? Okay, how do we tell young people? Work together. Stop killing each other. Work with each other. Then they look at the elders in the community and they can't even work together. We got to start with the accountability with the elders first.
Hold on, Brother John.
Here we go. I knew it.
No. And the reason why I'm kind of jumping in right now is because I'm young enough yet old enough to kind of fit somewhere in the middle of this, right? And so the thing that I want to push back on, or at least start with, you were agreeing with Bishop Willis about the accountability part, right? But that's true on every side of the table and every perspective. Young people can't expect for the elders or the old people or whatever to either do or relinquish space or whatever it is, and they themselves not be willing to be held accountable. If you know you're out of pocket or you're doing something wrong or whatever it is, you have to be willing to be honest and real with yourself and say, okay, I'm not doing everything right. Okay. I'm not doing everything right. Because one of the things that, at least when I was coming along, and it still kind of exists now in church or just in different spaces, people are always concerned about how somebody is talking to me, or how did they say what they said to me or whatever. Okay, listen, first off, were you wrong? Yes, I was wrong, but they didn't have to say it to me like that. No, let's stop right there. Were you wrong? Okay, how it was said to you is irrelevant if you got told, hey, James, you were out of pocket. Whether they said it to me like I felt like they said it to me in love, or I felt like they was getting at me out of pocket. If I was in fact wrong, then how the person said however they called me on the carpet it doesn't matter. Okay, were you right or were you wrong in my action? Okay, that's the first thing. I have to be willing to be held accountable first, and accept that if I'm wrong, okay, you're not gonna always be corrected in the way that you feel like would be corrected, or the way that, every time I got a whooping, it never felt good. Like growing up as a kid, I got a whooping, it never felt good. Like I never enjoyed it. Correction, no matter how it's given, is not going to feel good. You're not going to like it. Okay, it's going to be uncomfortable. They can say it with a smile. They can bring you a sundae with a cherry on top. It's not going to feel good to be told that you are wrong. Accountability says, okay, I was wrong in this or that thought process or whatever. Be willing to take a look inside and say, okay, now, was I actually, what did I do that was wrong here? Or, is there some validity to what they're saying? You can't expect the elders to come completely to your side of the table and you're unwilling to meet them in the middle of the road. Like, it doesn't work that way. Okay.
Wait, James.
Before you guys do this, because I kind of want to take it back to what you said, John, and then what Bishop was saying, and I will tie this all together. Yes, we have to look at generational curses, and we just heard from the word. I'm a pastor, so I'm gonna try to do this spiritual and natural, if it's all right. So we just heard from the word that there are things that are going to be passed on, and it's going to go 1, 2, 3 to the 4th generation. We also heard Bishop say that we have to be held accountable for our church choices, because the word also says that ended with the law. So we have people in our world that don't want to be held accountable. We have people in our world that want to make bad choices, and they want to say, well, I made this bad choice because my great grandma made this bad choice, and now I'm going to have to make it. The sister said, I believe her name is Coley, said that she sees families that go to prison every generation. They got somebody going to prison. Every generation they have someone dying. All of these things we have to look at, and there are choices. However, we have to also think about, and it was said in the comments, that people are not teaching. We're not showing a more excellent way. We're not showing there's different ways of doing things. So yeah, I was that child that if you came at me sideways, Lala was going to show up. And Lala was the violent part of Linda, right? So I was going to disrespect you. I was going to talk to you crazy. I wasn't going to step up and be held accountable. And then when someone came to me and said, you was wrong, I'd be like, yeah, I was wrong, but she shouldn't have talked to me like that. You talk to me like that, this is what you're going to get. When I went through therapy, I realized that that's not how God created me. God created me to be able to resolve my conflicts, to deal with it and take accountability, take responsibility. And so I had to learn a different way. I couldn't just say, I'm going to, and I do pray, I do fast, I do all of that. I'm a pastor and I teach it. But I had to understand that once I get off my knees, I have to be willing to do the work. And I think nowadays we have people that are not willing to do the work. Pastor Trina talked about taking on and recognizing and calling it for what it's worth. She said it a different way, but she was saying we have to acknowledge it. And so I think nowadays people don't want to acknowledge it. They want to act out. They want to say, well, it's because they won't let me. It's because, this one said that I can't do it. And so I'm going to go over here and do whatever I want to do. But we've got to get to the point where the church and the world, secular world, come together and we have this discussion, because there are some people that don't believe in generational curses. There are some people that think, oh, that's just the Bible stuff, because someone in here said, get off the Bible, stop talking about the Bible. But that's who we are. So we're going to talk about the Bible. We're going to do all of this stuff, but we got to have the conversation in a way that everyone can glean from it and walk away from it. And I believe it starts at accountability and responsibility, but it also means where do we go from there? Once I say, yes, I was wrong, and I don't use the word but, because that negates what I just said, what do I do then?
Yeah.
So I would love to talk about the accountability. Oh, okay. Thank you. Hi. So I want to go back, because I agree with accountability. I agree with you have a choice. I agree with all of that y'all said. Growing up, I used to hear this as I was growing up. You're going to be just like your mama. Y'all heard that term? You're going to be just like your mama. You remind me of your dad. You hear those words in your head, and a person can experience trauma from someone keep telling them this as they're growing up, right? So I'm going to just tell you a little bit of the testimony of my life. Like, I grew up in foster care, okay? And I heard those things, that I wasn't going to be this and I ain't going to do this. And my family as well struggled with addiction, struggled with in and out of prison. That's in my family. And so I knew what was around me, and I knew what I did not want to become. I knew what type of environment that I didn't want to be in. And so I made that choice constantly, always thinking about it as an adult. Like, I'm not going to be a teen pregnant. I'm not going to be a mother at a teen. I'm not going to be on drugs. I'm going to stay away from drugs, because I'm so scared that I don't even want to even tempt myself to even get to that situation. You know what I mean? Yes, I grew up in foster care, and I never met my father. I just met my mom. I'm not going to be that type of mom. I made that choice consciously as growing up, as thinking about my life. Like, no, I am not going to be a product of my environment. And I even went to the point where I moved out of the state of where I was at to make a whole new life for myself. No resources, no family. All I had was a faith of a mustard seed, and that's it. Okay. And maybe like a couple of $100 in my pocket. And God seen me through, open up doors and opportunity, and brought people started coming. So it's a choice. It's a choice to break that generational curse. It's a choice to not be a product of that environment. And so when you talk about accountability, yes, you have to take accountability for yourself. You can't help that you was brought into this world, but you can help where you're going into this world. And nothing is going to be perfect and peachy. And I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to say this because I'm a parent. I'm a parent now. I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. And sometimes when I was growing up, when I would get those whoopings, I think I heard y'all talking about those whoopings. We used to have a choice. Do you want to get your whooping on your butt side, or do you want to get your whooping on your hands with a wooden spoon? Y'all don't know nothing about that. So let me just school y'all to that, because y'all may not know nothing about that. But I had a choice. And so I remember growing up, and I hated getting whoopings too. Just like you said, no matter what, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. But you asking me for a choice, and I remember getting hit on my hands, and I remember how knowing the value of my hands was that I was getting whooped on my hands, but I didn't want my butt to be burning either. And so now that I'm a parent, I think about when I'm ready to whoop my kids, like the trauma that it brought me of making a decision if I wanted to get a whooping on my backside or on my hand. And that's a generational curse that I decided as a parent that I was going to break. You know, finding another. Now, don't get me wrong, I still whoop my kids sometimes, but I find another option instead of whooping them, because I remember the trauma, the generational curse that it had on me. And so, again, I go back to say it's a choice. You have to have accountability, and you have to realize where you came from and where you want to go.
And now,
Tony,
all right, go ahead, Pastor Trina.
Tony, thank you. Thank you for sharing that about choices. I still want to introduce another element to what we're talking about. I do believe in a choice. I believe in accountability. I love that we're having the whole conversation, and for us in our frame, the end result is that the Word of God is truth and Jesus is the answer. And I heard you talk about him. I want to, though, the choice that we make, I want to recognize that it's not as cut and dried as an automatic, this is an easy thing to do. There, we have now research, we have new technology. We know that because of historical trauma, that's now also part of our DNA. We know that that is a thing that has been proven that's there. There is adverse childhood experiences that we carry in our body. We know that through the trauma, even going back as far as slavery, right? And so there is something that's called historical trauma that carries, and a historical trauma has 3 different factors to it, depending on whether or not it is something that is widespread, something that had collective suffering with malicious intent. And most of your studies, interesting enough, around your epigenetics and what have you, it has to do with the Holocaust, has to do with other historical, but the truth of the matter of it is also directly tied just to us being Black from slavery and what have you, and all of the trauma on our streets. Now, there still always is a choice. And what I love about your testimony, Tony, that spoke about your desire. People were saying and speaking one thing in your life, and you were constantly right away saying, no, I don't receive that. I'm not going to be that. You're going to be, you were saying out of your mouth, I'm not going to be. So while they were trying to put stuff on you, you were already digging from under it, and then you did what you needed to do so for your own salvation, so that your life would be the way that you proclaimed it to be. However, trauma in our communities, when our children have seen played out in front of them, have been taught a certain thing. I can tell you something as simple as I live in a particular area, and my daughter, my family, my husband, my family, we were born, they were born into a certain area, used to a regular. And she had someone come over to her house in this same area, and they went out to smoke a cigarette because we happen to not be smokers. And they took the cigarette and flicked it in the street. Well, for me, it was like, oh my God, we don't put cigarettes in the street here, right? They weren't doing that to be mean or rude. This is a little lightweight thing to talk about, right? So nobody's embarrassed on public TV. But for them, they're all of their life, I guess that's what they do all day, every day in the neighborhood that they're in. They didn't know that was an odd thing. Now you take that and extrapolate it out over any other kind of circumstance. And if that's all that's surrounding me, even in the choice, the good choice that we that are healed, delivered, and whole think that people should make, their choices that they're looking at isn't a choice of doing the great, big, wonderful thing that we think they should do, or something that might be a little bit shady. They're surrounded, a lot of our families are surrounded by things that in their choices, it still ain't the right choice. It still isn't acceptable to society. And so you see people, you see them in the courtrooms, you see them different places, and they're saying, we're looking at them now. Why did you do that? How come that had to happen? Why did you make that choice? And they're confused. They're looking like, well, what was the problem? What else was I going to do? Some choices that I'm making based on what I've surrounded myself with. It was a matter of, am I going to feed my child or am I not going to feed him? This is what I'm going to do. Another point I want to make with these adverse childhood experiences that's been studied through Kaiser, studied, over and over and over, tells us that it also starts to erode our empathy for other people. So you say, how could they do that to someone? Well, it's because in the DNA now, because of the overexposure to so much trauma, they don't have the same level of empathy you do. Now, that's not to say that they should stay there. It does take, I love when Bishop, you said you need to surround yourself, right? Surround yourself with a community that you want to see. I have one of my grandchildren, her boyfriend ended up losing his life behind some things. I hated it because when the young man came around family, he's looking at the granddaughter like, why are you even here? Basically is what he was saying. You mean you got this kind of support and you're choosing this life? See, if people don't see better, if they're not surrounded with better, if you're not constantly showing love and kindness and not just preaching at the people, I mean your actions, they won't know. People are born in certain geographic places, area codes. That's all they see. That's all they know. And then we want to talk down and be angry with them for choices that they make. Sometimes it just does take more love than anything else to let them see something different before they can act in something different. And
So
then they'll have a fair choice.
So does history repeat itself?
The history, yes, I think history repeats itself unless there is an interrupter to that history.
Go ahead, Brother James. I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna follow up what I gotta say, because y'all got me triggered over here now. But go ahead, Brother James.
I think, you know, and I loved what Tony was sharing, and what she basically, you verbalized and demonstrated exactly what I was talking about, as it being a choice and being willing to be held accountable, right? I feel like the responsibility of the elders, from what you were talking about earlier, John, is for those that have either gotten out or managed to break the curse, or in Tony's case, in spite of everything in spite of all the factors that would have said you're going to be this and that, she became something completely different. What I think Tony would probably say, when she speaks again to it, is that it would have been easier for her to become a teenage mom. It would have been easier for her to be like her dad or her mom or whoever. It would have been easier than what she ended up having to do to get out, right? And so a lot of times we will decide to take the easy road because the way out, or the way to where we want to be, is too hard for us, right? And that goes back to Bishop Willis when he was talking about making a choice. But where I feel the responsibility of the elders comes in is being willing to, in spite of whether or not the young people are willing to hear it, in spite of whether or not they're willing to even be held accountable, to still stand up and say, hey, I'm gonna continue to teach and show the right way. I'm gonna continue to do it, whether I feel you're listening or not. So like conversations like this, right? We have 3 pastors, well, 4 if you include myself, but 3 pastors that are in this conversation, that I know from my knowledge of each of them are teaching the right things, are willing to continue to be there for their communities, are investing and are available voices and resources for those that are around them or their communities. Now, for those that are around them or in their communities, I'll include myself now, we have to choose to take part and take the advice and take advantage of the resources that they are, right? And so we can't say, well, they're not doing anything, they're not helping, when the resources are there. I have to choose to at some point take advantage of the resource that I'm given. If I'm thirsty and there's water close by, I have to choose to drink the water, right? It's there. I have to choose to go and get it, or I cannot and just die of thirst, right? So the reality still remains that as those resources are there and available to us, we have to be willing to avail ourselves of that. Tony was willing to relocate her whole life into a different state, into a different place. I can only imagine how scary that was, because we're always scared of the unknown, right? She didn't necessarily know what to expect. Going to a new place that wasn't familiar, right? So there's a level of uncomfortability. A lot of times we don't want to be uncomfortable. Even if our situations are bad, sometimes we'll stick with it because that's the devil we know. That's what's comfortable. I've been in this my entire life. Why would a whole family have to go to jail? Okay, listen, I had a couple of uncles who got off into drugs, right? And when I was a kid, I saw that growing up. I saw the impact that it had, and like Tony, I said, no, that don't have to be me. That's not going to be me, right? I'm like, I'm not going to, and there was opportunity for drugs was all around me, right? The opportunity to get involved that was all around me. There is no reason that there has to be a whole family to go to jail or to be lost to drugs or whatever have you. There's no reason for that. Somebody at some point has to say, okay, you know what? No matter how difficult it is, even if I'm the odd man out, I'm not going to do that. Okay. If it costs me my entire family, if it costs me my entire relationship, I'm not going to do that. And so, we have to be brave enough to be on our own. We have to be brave enough to walk the lonely path, if that's what it takes for a time.
Yeah. I want to try to answer the Bishop of Community question. I want to say it is a fact that there are some pastors that are unwilling to pass the baton because it's all they know. It's become their lives, and they have no accomplishments outside of the pulpit. But there are other pastors that understand that how imperative it is to articulate to the younger generation their possibilities and their greatness. I often tell young people when I share with them, before the foundation of the world, while we were yet a thought in the mind of God, He already decided our gifts, our talents, our anointing, and the things that He's assigned us to do in the earth realm. Bishop of Community, you're good at what you do. You're good at what you do. At the end of the day, everything that God has given us to do, it is designed to make somebody else better, to make somebody else become their best self. And so at the end of the day, when we share with young people, we tell them their greatness and what God's called them to do. But then here's the issue where we collide with the younger generation. They're unwilling to go through what we call the process. The process is a series of actions or steps taken to achieve an end or a goal. They abort the process. And when you're unwilling to abort the process, you'll never become your best self. So then that's when the choices come in, that you don't make the better choices for you because some kind of way down the line you aborted the process because you was tired of it, because the process means I got to walk in discipline. I can't just do whatever I want to do just because it's the way I feel. And so that's sometimes that is the issue with the dynamics or the difference between the leadership and the young people coming in. They hear you or they listen to you, but they don't want to just walk it out, just walk out the steps so they become their best selves.
So I'm gonna
But
jump
I
in
think
there. I got a lot to say about this. I'm gonna jump in there because I agree with you, Bishop, and then I disagree because I think
Okay.
as elders of the community, I'm gonna say why y'all don't have to agree with me, but I have to get a perspective because I'm in the
Sure.
community. Okay, some of these elders that I'm talking about, I'm in these churches. I know who these people are. They know who they are. When they see me coming, they know. All right, and this is my thing. We're approaching Black History Month. Our elders created a pathway for us to go through. So yes, some of the issues that our bishops went through to get to where they got through is supposed to be the pathway for the young people. And sometimes our bishops hold on to that because they had to go through this pathway and they expect the young people to go through that pathway. That might not be their pathway. Martin Luther King said, no matter which way you go, as long as we get to the mountaintop together. So maybe when the bishop started in his time, that was the pathway and the obstacle that he had to go through. These young folks might have to go through another obstacle and using their technology in the way they do it their way. So it's an if and end with that. But I have to go back to Pastor Linda because it was something that triggered me. When I have people come on my show, I always have to push back. And I want everybody on this panel to understand. When I'm talking, it's no disrespect. I don't disrespect people. But
Sure.
this is both sides of the conversation. My job as the bishop of the community is the voice of the people. Okay. When we talk about changing the narrative, it's the narrative from the people. I'm with the people. I talk to the people. But Bishop, one of the things that I have to say, because I heard you a number of times say you had to do the work. You had to put yourself in a way to get this information. Some of these people in our community haven't did that work yet. And when we talk about doing the work, I always have to ask people, what does that look like? Because too many times I'm in these meetings and everybody's talking about, we talk about relationships, we talk about healing, we talk about mental health. What does it look like? Because it does the community no good. You say, well, you have to do the work. Well, somebody sitting there saying, well, what does the work look like? We have to be able to walk people through that. We have to equip the young people of our community and educate them how to do their civil process within the church and in our community. So if we want to build these people up, and I hear you, Brother James, accountability is very important. All right. But when you look at the word accountability, because y'all know I'm not the smartest person, I'm not But I know accountability is two things. You have to account and have the ability. We have a generation of people who don't have the ability, and they're not, and they don't account for what they're doing. So what happens is, and I'm not saying you are, but what happens is, from some of our church folks, some of our elitist Black folks, they forget about the struggles and the challenges that people go through. So they want them to come in with this fine-tuned mind. But I'm asking y'all, how do we connect with the people before we correct the people? Because before we hold them accountable, we first got to connect them so that they understand. Because, see, it's a young person out there that don't know pulling his pants up is what he need to do because nobody around him have told that. So when we encounter him, how do we connect with him before we just correct him and not just be elders of the community and say, boy, pull your pants up. You ain't supposed to do this. When do we have that process for our community to educate our community? Because I'm going to tell you, there's not a lot of parents out there. I'm around these parents in these school districts, okay? Some of these people that I'm talking about, they was never taught themselves. So we got a generation of folks who didn't even learn the basics. When do we, as the leaders of the community, the bishops in the pulpit, how do we connect with those people first? And then give them a vision of what it looks like in the public, what it looks like in corporate America. Because some of these people, they ain't never been in corporate America. So they don't know why they should do this. If we just talking down on them saying, you're not supposed to eat like this, you're not supposed to talk like this, you're not supposed to respond like that, that is disrespectful. Because I hear the elders all the time. The young people is very disrespectful, but they never was taught. When do we have the conversation to connect with them and then explain to them, this is why you do it this way. This is why you answer this way. And when you do it this way, this is why you turn off people. But again, the elders of the community is who I'm talking to right now. We'll get to the young people. We have to do a change too. There's a paradigm shift that has to happen with our elders of the community. We got to get dirty with the people that's outside of our community. Because I always hear people talking about the village. And I don't know about the village, y'all, because the village is messed up right now. So when do we get in the village, okay? We don't see the churches knocking at the door all of the time. I'm looking at the numbers. Where is the people at? These very people that's supposed to educate our community, where are they at? And I'm going to tell y'all right now, meeting people where they at don't mean come to my church, come to my nonprofit, come to my building. I want to see these people in the community on the corner with the people. I want them in the school with the children, educating them. That's where we meet people where we at. We can't get them to open up the page of the Bible until we get them in a place where they can open up their mind to even receive the message. That's what I have to say on it. But I'm going to give it back to y'all.
It's about, Bishop, it's about building relationship. It's just about building relationship. When I talked about even the process, everybody's process is different. Everybody's process. When I talked about process, taking the steps needed to become their best selves, it's whatever that takes for them to become their best selves. So you can't put anybody or put everybody in a box. Just like what you're saying about, the elders or the churches and stuff. You can't put all the churches in one box. Because Lily of the Valley Christian Center, we doing the work. We're doing the work not only inside the church, but we're doing community work. We have relationship with the political realm around us in our city. We understand that it's more than the four walls. That's what. Listen, I haven't eaten today. I'm hungry. I'm a diabetic. I'm hungry. But I feel like that this is necessary to get out, to be able to help, to make somebody else's life. One of the greatest question that was ever asked in the Bible by Jesus, he says, "Wilt thou be made whole?" He's talking about mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, socially, economically. I'm just talking about he wants us whole. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even if your soul prospers. That means all of us, not only even meeting Jesus, but we've got to go to the process to become who God's called us all to be. Like I told you, Bishop, you do what you do, and you do it well, and you're very convincing. But you know what I mean?
Bishop, Bishop. We don't get to eat or sleep. You know the role. We took this role. I get 2 hours of sleep. We don't work. We just keep going, right?
But we have a passion for it, right? This is our passion. This is what we're called to do. This is what we do. Pastor Trina is on. Man of God, woman of God is on. This is what we do. We love what we do. We as men and women of God, we just have to find out some kind of way with wisdom to articulate however we need to articulate to get the attention of the next generation so we can make sure that they don't repeat the errors and the mistakes of our forefathers.
Mhm. One of the things that will help, I think there is a narrative that continues to take place, and we don't recognize all of the good that is going on, even through faith-based organizations. I know of the amazing work that Bishop Willis does through Lily of the Valley. I've been on both sides of the conversation before, speaking about the work that's being done at Victory and Praise Church in the Central Valley. I just got back late from a week-long training. We took a team of people to Los Angeles to train in social justice, learning how to continue to build, because our goal is to be a 100% civically engaged congregation of 702 people. And I've talked about the programs that we put in, the pallets of food and the financial classes. And, so those things, and I said last time I was on your show, John, that I don't think we're an anomaly. I think there are other amazing churches that's out doing work in the community and not just waiting for tragedy to hit to show up. That's an older narrative and certainly could still be found. But I think we need to also open our eyes a little bit bigger, look around a little bit more, because it is not a one-sided story. We're not a one-trick pony in the church. We got a whole bunch of things that's going on and a lot of help that's being given to the communities. Through my organization, Faith in the Valley, I founded Faith in the Valley. We work in 5 different entities, counties, from Kern County all the way through San Joaquin County. During the pandemic, we gave out over $2.5 million. My organization passed through those funds, right? We're connected with Pico, California. We're connected with Faith in Action National, the largest faith-based social justice organization in the nation. And we're constantly building. And so the narrative is what I want to speak about. And if we can begin to shift, perhaps children, young people, youth aren't trusting a church of yesteryear because they have not taken the time to know the church of today and things that are available to them. We understand that our heart's desire is to be of service to young people. We have healthy contingents of young people already in our church that is out on you said, where are we? Are we out on the street corners meeting and talking? We're there as well. And so I just want to update the conversation that, yeah, we're there and we understand why our young people have the issue. We're doing what we can to change the narrative, to let them know that there is a space for them. We have young people in our pulpit. The last 2 years, we have had youth bringing the word for an entire month so that we'll hear the perspective of what the young people have to say. And we followed up with it. Yes, I see you, Khalees.
I have a
Pastor
question.
Pastor Trina. Hold on, Khalees. Pastor Trina. Y'all don't get defensive on me. I'm not saying all churches, but I have to bring it to the forefront.
No, I understand it's not all, but what happens is when we give more airtime to those that are still trapped in an older time period, or maybe not serving in the manner that, because I won't say wrong, but maybe not serving in the manner that we are, because I think it requires all types. But if they get more airplay than the congregations that are doing it right, you will have some young people that's never stepped foot in the church, but they will repeat that narrative because it's become the dominant narrative and they'll think it's still the current truth. So I just want, when you're sharing Bishop John Henry, if you can just share their slices, we're starting to see a change. We're starting to see a shift out in the community. That's what I'd love for you to talk about. And not to deny that what your truth is, that still is going on. I just want to say that a lot of us are out doing all we can to ensure that we're providing a well-rounded gospel, and we are absolutely providing the justice as well as the mercy, as well as the salvational messages, and we're doing what we can.
And let me say this real quick before we go any further, because Lady Trina talked about something that she mentioned I thought was extremely important, and when she was talking about the narratives, and Bishop of the community, to those of us to whom much is given, much is required, right? Much responsibility is had. And so you have a voice. And to Bishop Willis's point, you use it well. And you said, I hear from the people, I'm the voice of the people. And so, and I believe you. I'm not arguing that fact, but what I would do is to challenge you to what Lady Trina was just saying at the end, to shift what you're highlighting and what you're focused. Because if we step back for a moment and realize there's bigger things at play here, right, than even what our perspectives are or conversations. Whole countries have gone to war over narratives, over things that were not true, but that was put out long enough and enough to where it became true, or it by the actions of the people before it was actually even true. Hopefully what I'm saying makes sense right there. So if you continue to say, there's pastors and churches that ain't doing it and this and that, while that may be true, if that's what you continue to put out, the young people whose ear that you have, that's all they're going to hear. And that's what they're going to believe. And if they never walk into a church, you can't know that there's a better church out there if you never walk into one, because all you've heard is that the churches don't do the work, or they're not good churches, or whatever. Okay. For all the churches that are out there, I'm willing to believe that there are more good ones than there are bad ones. Would you agree with me on that? Or are you saying they're all bad? I don't think you're saying that. So then if we know they're not all bad, then it's like anything else, it may just realistically be a numbers game, right? I may have to walk into more than one church to find the church is actually doing the work, to find the church or organization for me, but that church is out there, right? The organizations are out there. Those groups are out there. And so we sometimes will do our community a disservice when we think we're doing them a service by continuing to highlight what's not happening, right? Versus what actually is happening, the good that's actually happening, right? And so that's one thing. But you also did say something that a while back that I definitely agree with, and I wanted to kind of shed some light on just a little bit of my history, right? Because I know it sounds like I'll maybe coming a little hard at the young people. So I wanted to give you a little background about me. I spent almost 6 years as a youth pastor at Victory and Praise Church. My wife and I, we work with the youth. We both have a heart for the youth to this day. You want to move us quickly, let it be something involving the youth, and you have us both. You have our full attention. You have everything that we have, right? And so through that time, we learned that, yeah, we absolutely, the young people really don't care how much you know or how smart you are until they really know how much you care. That much, we learned that for real, right? And the love that is required to just, be able to receive them as they are, right? And no matter how good or bad that might be. The one thing we never did, though, we never came to their side of the fence saying that what they were doing or however they are was okay. We love them in spite of it, just saying, okay, yep, we're going to love you regardless. We accept you, period. However, now once we showed that love and was able to connect, then yeah, we were always teaching the right thing or a better way or whatever have you. So I just want you to understand that while I might have felt like I was coming hard at the young people, you're talking to somebody who absolutely was one of those young people and who absolutely has spent the time and done the work with the young people. There's I will tell you, I will speak from my wife. There are grown women now that are who they are because of the time she spent working with them and allowing God to use her in the way that he did as it relates to them. The sacrifices of being up at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, going to be with them and their families or checking on them or going to pick them up from situations that they shouldn't have had themselves in. And they didn't feel like they was afraid to call their parents and they called us. Right. And we were there for them. So those people and those places are there. Right. We're not the only ones. Bishop Willis and Pastor Linda, we're not the only ones. They're doing the same thing. They're there. And so the only thing I would maybe challenge you to do is Bishop of the community, is while you're being the voice of the community, you're able to use your voice to point them in those right directions to say, yeah, I know you might have experienced this over here. Let me tell you, there's a church you can go to over here that I know is doing the work, right? That I know you can, that have what you need. And so while you're on here challenging us, and I love the challenge, thank you so much for it. I would also want to challenge you right back to use that voice to continue to illuminate and highlight the positives that actually is happening, right? Because that's where the change is taking place. We know in every arena, in every area, there's always going to be somebody doing it wrong. Or, if to say it that way, no matter what it is, be it this area, this space, I coach sports. There's good coaches and bad coaches, right? There's always going to be the good and the bad, no matter what it is. So we need to learn to focus and highlight the good, not to give the bad a pass. We still got to hold those individuals accountable. But for our purposes and for what we're trying to accomplish, highlighting the bad doesn't do us any good.
So how can we change the narrative for our younger generation? So a lot of our children, they're not going to church. They're not at church. Okay, that's the fact of it. They're not at church. They're not even thinking about church. But us as parents, us here that have them right under our watch, how can we change the narrative? How can we avoid these generational curses? How can we avoid them going down that same path or repeating that bad part of history?
First of all, you have to make sure that you're doing the work yourself. And what I mean by that, because I know Bishop John said, what does the work look like? And for each individual, the work is different. But for me, it was understanding my walk with Christ, but it was also going to the therapist and sitting there for months and years, an hour a week, talking about, because I was like, Tony, I did not want to be what everyone said that I was going to be. I didn't want to be involved in alcohol. I didn't want to be involved in drugs. I didn't want to go down the road of just being an angry individual, although up to that point I had been. So I had to dress it within me, but then I had to look at, I had younger siblings. I have nieces and nephews. I don't have children of my own, but I have siblings and things like that. And I was like, okay, God, show me a way that the stuff that I'm learning, the stuff that you're teaching me through the word of God, through prayer, through fasting, the stuff you're teaching me through this therapist, how do I translate that to teach it to somebody else? Because it has to be a teachable trait. It has to be something that we can absolutely pass on. And if you are like, if you're diligent about it, that situation will come about. It will come about in the relationship that you need to have with the young people, to not just tell them that you're wrong, but to love them to do the right thing. It will come about, and your children will then start to make better choices, and you'll start to see the return on your investment on showing them a more excellent way. But you got to be willing to deal with it within yourself first. We can't do anything without dealing with ourselves. That's just, I mean, that, at least that was my path. And the people that I deal with Whole Ministries, with Women of Worth Ministries, that's what they're learning, is I have to go in and deal with my own junk first, and then I can help somebody else. Yes, prayer. Yes, reading the word. Yes, fasting. Yes, getting counsel. The Bible talks about, a wise person is surrounded by a multitude of counsel, but you got to deal with it within yourself.
And also, Khalees, to answer your question, yes, thank you, Pastor Linda. And we believe in therapy and counseling, and through Tammy Jackson and Michelle McDaniels, and we've licensed counselors as well at the church with some of the other programs. But you asked specifically, you said those kids not going to church. They're not, how are we going to?
Right.
So let me tell you what we're doing. Because we recognize that as well. And the reason we have a vibrant young adult and growing, even through the pandemic, community within our churches, because we constantly put on events that are connected to church, but they're not church. And so we'll have your basketball tournaments and things that Pastor James and his team and stuff will run, and we'll have it out in a community center. God has blessed us with an amazing campus where we have space to have it there, but sometimes we'll have it off campus even, right? We have girls who code programs, and we'll invite the community to come in for girls who code, and Lego programs through the summer. And for our vacation Bible vacation Bible school, we have kids camp, intentionally named kids camp, because there are some people that'll say Vacation Bible School, I don't want the Bible, right? But they come in and then they never want to leave once they get there. They're like, oh, this is pretty cool, right? And so likewise, when we have programs like that for the children, we always have some sort of reading lounge for the parents, right? So they can come in and we talk about anything. We talk about, finances and things that parenting skills and styles, but it's also taught by people that love God and love the word of God. So what's in us is going to come out of us. And so we make a difference and we make connections because we do believe, bottom line, that the answer is in the house, right? The answer is in the word of God. But there are people that will put up blinders or block just from hearing that. So we have to, the word of God says it's a wise soul that can win, a wise person that can win souls, right? And so we go out into the community and provide, we go into the prisons. We go into the prisons on a weekly, every week basis on a Sunday, right? And guess what guys do when they come out? They do everything within their power to come find victory and praise, right? Because we love them when they're incarcerated. And so we are outside of the wall, but that's the key. And parents, if you're listening, when you see something that is faith-based and stuff, you don't have to tell your kids all the time, oh, that's church. Just take them to the ball game. Just get them to those places. And if you bring them, we're already coming out of the walls into the community spaces, right? We teach and we have for our youth, social justice classes, teaching them how to build base and how to do their one-to-ones and all those piece parts, right? So they can be civically engaged and be on youth panels and be part of the NAACP and all of those things. But when you hear it, parents, bring them to those spaces and then we'll do what we do, right? And I bet they'll be connected, right? So yeah, that's just my suggestion. And that's what
I have to say this. I have to jump in there because Brother James, I'm gonna tell you, I like the word challenge, but I'm not challenging you. I just want to say this. I change the narrative positively for our community and I uplift those churches. But I'm gonna tell you this because I have to say this. Too. This is what I do here at both sides of the conversation. I'm talking about San Francisco when I talk about the churches that I'm dealing with because that's the community that I'm serving. Yeah. I don't know all about what's going on in the valley, and I'm coming down to figure it all out. Okay, but what we do here is we this is what we do. Okay, we assess what's going on in our community. We criticize. After we assess and find out, we criticize and then we mobilize. That's how we get action done in San Francisco. But what I want to say is that there are some phenomenal churches that are doing some amazing work in the community. I'm never going to take that away. But I like what TJ said, and I think that's why today is so powerful, because here at both sides of the conversation, we believe through a conversation and communication, a healing process begins. And I like what TJ said, because no one can change, or we can't move our organizations, our communities forward and change the narrative if we don't have a real conversation and a real testimony of what we've been through. Because the young people, the biggest thing I hear is, John, my mom telling me this, because I work with kids in the jail. I'm in the jail. I'm on the street corners. All right. All these parents they talk about, they only tell us about the great things where they at. They never tell us about what they've been through. So as community, as we start talking about what we've been through and why we have the knowledge and understanding, we can start pulling and changing that narrative, right? The other thing is this, and I'm proud right now because I can say a lot of our churches have embraced the change. But when we talk about generational curses and what's been passed down from the pulpit to the community, it hasn't always been great. And we always have to acknowledge that. Okay, when we talk about mental health, it wasn't always accepted in the Black churches. We have to be real there. Okay, but over the time, our Black churches have embraced mental health. Not just the devil's in you, they have actually embraced mental health changes. So again, when we talk about what's being pushed in our community, some of those old things, I heard somebody say, well, this was the old way and this is how to embrace the new things. But again, some of those old ways are still being pushed in the future of what's going on. When we talk about finances, church's capacity, some of the decision making, when we make crucial decisions that impact our community based on finance, that impacts our community. And there is still a lot of churches that move in those models. Okay, so we have to also be real. But there is some amazing churches that are doing amazing things with our young people for the community. But we have to be real, y'all. We got to keep it real. All right. And I'm going to say this, and I want to bring this up, okay, because I know Pastor Trina, we talked about it on the last show you was on. A couple of things. And this is what disturbs me. A lot of the churches, and I'm talking about San Francisco, and I ain't saying the Central Valley. When COVID first came to this city, there was a lot of church pastors said, no, don't get the vaccination. They trying to kill us. All of this stuff. I'm just going to be real with you. I'm not talking about what's going on in Central Valley. I'm talking this very San Francisco. And let me tell you what happened. Some of these elders, some of these bishops that I'm talking about, and they know who they are because I've called them out. They didn't agree with the vaccination. They didn't agree about COVID, what was going on. But the moment they got money and they said, if you allow us to use your church space, if you allow us to use your pulpit to get people in here, we're going to pay you. All of a sudden, yeah, y'all, we need to get COVID. Y'all need to come get tested. I'm just telling you. So these are the things that we pass on. So we got to be careful with that, all right? And I'm not saying what's going on y'all way. I'm just saying, I'm talking about the people I deal with in San Francisco. And when we talk about leadership, we have some pastors in this very city that do a disservice to our community. They are very divisive. I'm just going to be real. Some of the biggest names in San Francisco are very divisive when it comes to our community. And we always have to uplift and call that out, because changing that narrative start with making sure they understand that the community is aware. We are paying attention. You get what I'm saying? And then the last thing, and I know, Trina, we talked about it. There's a lot of conversation going on in San Francisco. Some of these very pastors are talking about allowing the growth of marijuana on their church property because of finances. And this is a conversation that is going on across this country. There's a number of churches across this country who's already adopted that model of using the church land to grow cannabis. And my question to the panel is, when is enough's enough? When do we have sacred spaces? Because there are pastors right now in this city, they want to have this conversation for the community. And they keep telling me, well, John, it's from the earth, it's from the God, it's from this. And I get all of that. When do we have sacred spaces in our community? When do we say, no, alcohol is illegal? I'm not going to tell young people, hey, well, it's legal. We can do it here because it's legal. No. When do we set the boundary? When we talk about accountability, because I'm seeing some things, I'm hearing some things, and I'm not comfortable with it. And these are coming from the very leaders in this city. So when we talk about what our churches are doing, our spiritual leaders are doing, our organizations, when do we cross the line? Because if we don't, we're passing down the next generational curse of it's okay if it's money involved, because this is where we headed. And like I told him, I was on a call with a number of these pastors. So we're going to be okay with prostitution as well when it's legal. We're going to be okay with all of this stuff. As soon as money is involved and it's legal and everybody else doing it, we're jumping on the bandwagon too, because that's what we're selling to our community. So we got to have that conversation too. But I'm going to pass it to you, Brother James.
Okay. And I appreciate that. First, let me say, you have a pastor in San Francisco in this discussion right now, who in Pastor Linda, that if you haven't connected with more, I definitely advise you to do so. As my big sister, I know she's one who, is not necessarily going to go for the foolishness. Let me say that. Is going to, teach the word of God in its entirety and live according to that. But here's the thing that I feel as it relates to this overall conversation that we're having, right? You're going to always have some who really are about the work, right? And you're going to have some who aren't. And that over time becomes very easy to tell, becomes very easy to see. The cream really does rise to the top. And in that, while you're going to, the wheat and the tare, they grow together. There's nothing we can do about that, right? That's God's responsibility to kind of weed out those that needed to be weeded out and all of those things. So I think we're focusing in some ways, sometimes, on the wrong stuff. I'm not saying let's not call them out. I'm not saying let's not speak to it. I'm saying let's speak to what's right and speak to what's wrong, not who the right or wrong is being spoken by so much. You know what I mean? We get caught up on that. And let's just speak to what's right and in those different situations. And so, like for myself, right, I'll use an example. One of the things when I was first getting involved in ministry, being at the time a lot younger than I am right now, I I didn't fit necessarily the church norms, right? I wasn't wearing suits. I didn't have all the church lingo. I didn't always have the look. And, the good thing is, being at Victory and Praise Church, Bishop saw enough in me and allowed God to lead him in a way that he let me be who I was, right? That's not always, I wouldn't, and I've said it many times, I don't know if I could have been saved in any other church, because I don't know if they would have allowed me to be who I was long enough for God to get a hold of me and make me a better version of me. But Bishop Turner did that, right? But inside of that, even now, most of the time, I'm never in a suit. Most of the time, I look like I'm from the street, right? And that's okay. Matter of factly, I prefer it that way because it helps those who are coming from the street or the younger people to be able to relate better, right? They can identify with somebody. Okay, this dude's in the pulpit and he got on jeans and a t-shirt, or this dude is whatever it is, right? It makes it possible for them. And you talked earlier about being real. I agree with you 100%. We have to be willing to tell our stories, right? And realize that while I'm not who I used to be, I can't forget who I was. Okay. Because who I was is the story that sometimes I still have to be willing to tell in its entirety, because there's somebody who today is who I used to be 15 years ago. And so the only way they can see a pathway forward is by me testifying and telling who I used to be for real and not being ashamed by that. Where we sometimes go wrong is that, and I say, even in the church community and even in the, just even in the young folks, whatever, the very ones who don't want to be judged for who they are will judge the people for what they did. Those who maybe be trying to be leaders and help them. When they make a mistake, they're quick to also judge and discount if Bishop Willis made a mistake tomorrow. That doesn't undo all of the years of the work that he's done. That doesn't undo all of the good that he did, right? But we'll be quick to discredit everything that he's done because of one mistake he's made. But then let it be me who makes a mistake. I want all the grace and understanding and all of that I was unwilling to give to him. So again, it goes back to my point of being accountable. We all have made mistakes. We're all at different places in this life, right? We're all on different levels, still working to be the best version of who, of ourselves, whatever that is. And so we have to be willing to extend the grace to those in our lives that we encounter that we want. You can't want something that you're unwilling to give. If I'm unwilling to give grace, I can't then expect grace when I mess up. Like that's just, it doesn't work that way. So a lot of times, John, that's what people will do in the church or outside, right? It doesn't matter where, just people in general. We won't extend the grace to others that we want. And especially when they're saying something that we don't necessarily want to hear or not ready to hear, right? We will use that, whatever their mistake is, as a way to discredit what they're saying. So I no longer have to listen to that.
I agree 100% of you. I think that's part of the generational curse, the cancel culture. We have to change that in our community. We
got to change that, man, because that thing is doing a greater harm to our community than we realize. It started from this place, and I think maybe it was maybe intended in its purest form as a good thing, but the reality is it's not. It never was a good thing, right? It never was that, because as myself as a believer, I serve a God of second chances. I serve a God who is all about, giving a person that another opportunity, right? About salvation, about a chance to be better, to be able to fall down and get back up. Well, then how does cancel culture support that at all? Cancel culture is the opposite of that in every way, because you make one mistake, now I'm canceling you. That's not how it works. That's not the love of God in action in any way, right? And so, but again, that's what I consider to be a trick of the enemy, right? And we will jump on that thinking that, oh, this is what I wanted, this is the right thing. It's really not. It was designed, it was something that the enemy uses to be able to cancel the Pastor Trinas of the world, or the Pastor Lindas, or the Bishop Willises, right? Or the bishop of the communities, or the Tonys, or the Khalees, who those that are doing the work that are sincere and real, but are people at the same time who will make a mistake at some point, maybe say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, or just be caught in a moment where they're being human. And now that we want to cancel them, right? It's a way, it was created and designed to take you guys out. That's it. It's a trick that the enemy uses to continue to keep our community trapped and can keep our community in chains. It is not something that we should be getting behind. I hate every time it happens when they want to cancel somebody. Listen, whatever they've done, actions have consequences. I'm all for that. Whatever the consequence is, it is. They need to go, they need to pay they price, whatever that is, right? But canceling them is not necessarily the answer. That's something that's created to destroy the pillars of our community, to bring you to discredit you guys. Because John, I guarantee you, there's somebody out there that is watching and waiting for you to do or say the wrong thing, so they can come at you, and so they can try to quiet you and tear you down and eliminate your voice.
Hey, brother. For 43 years, they've been trying to cancel me. I've said a number of things that people don't like. It's okay. I still stand up because I know no weapon against me shall prosper, and I will stand up in the favor of the Lord. And I've been doing this for 43 years, okay? I've been doing this since I was a baby. See, when I came out my mama, they were trying to cancel me. So they can't stop the bishop. I am still in the community with the people. I always tell them, as long as the people hire you, you'll never be fired. I'm always hired because the people know. When we show up, they know. They know what it is. I'm worried about my people. I'm not worried about them people. I'm worried about my people.
Correct, as am I, which is why I'm saying what I'm saying now, because while you understand what we're talking about, there's people that are listening to this or that are out there that they jump on with that cancel culture, and they're not realizing truly what is actually happening, right? They're not seeing the bigger picture, okay? And so it's a thing that unfortunately our young people will sometimes just kind of go with whatever the new thing is, right? They'll kind of go along with and they want to jump on that bandwagon. And it's our responsibility as leaders, and those of us that know a little bit better or that have some experience, to really illuminate those things and speak to it, even if it's not popular, right? Even if it's not the thing that really would necessarily get us more likes, or even if it's the thing that would maybe not get us more, it might cost us followers instead of getting us more followers. But we have to be willing to speak what the truth is, regardless of if it's popular or not, right? And so for me, that's just, that's kind of my position on it. And again, listen, bro, I love I love who you are, right? And the voice and the passion that you have. I'm definitely going to continue to support you in your actions and your endeavors and this group. But, again, for me, for those that are listening, I just got to say, when I went way back at the beginning and talked about accountability and it being a choice, right? That is true. In this whole conversation, everything we've discussed, that has still been the central thing, right? We have to be willing ourselves to be held accountable. You can't be additive to the struggle and to what to moving our community forward if you're unwilling to work to make yourself better. To be an additive thing to anything, you've got to be willing to make yourself better.
Man, very powerful stuff here. Both sides of the conversation. We believe leadership is demonstrating what's possible. And all you phenomenal panelists today are demonstrating what's possible for our community. This is a great conversation. Community, I see the messages. Look, they texted me. This is great. We need more of it. But listen, I told y'all in the beginning, the time is going to fly by. We have 15 minutes left. So what I want to do here is I just want to open it up. Tony, anybody have any further things that we want to talk about? We got 15 minutes and we got to get out of here. But before we get out of here today, I want to make sure everybody gives some parting words to the community. And Bishop, after I give the benediction, we're going to let the bishop leave the community with a prayer, because we need a prayer today, because our community is hurting. The family of Brother Nicholas is hurting. Our communities are on edge. The pot is boiling over. The tempers are flying. We need some calm in our community. So we're going to let the bishop leave us with an amazing prayer today. But with that being said, y'all, let's open it up. We got 15 minutes. Let's clean it up so we can get everybody out of here. Pastor Linda, I want to hear from you before we go. You got to talk about this cannabis, Pastor Linda.
I wanted to say briefly, Bishop of Community, your job is just a little different than ours. It's kind of like you're the Malcolm X and we're the Martin Luther King perspective. And so your job possibly is to expose. Our job is to really promote and give examples, to do whatever we can to make our communities better. And that's what we are attempting to do. And we thank God for you. We thank God really for this platform. And I often say to everybody, may the Lord increase your greatness and give you comfort on every side.
Man, thank you, Bishop. I think I'm more Huey Newton. All power to the people. Okay. I'm the Black Panther, the fighter of the people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been a true pleasure to be here on this panel. And I just want to say, I was reading your bio, John, and we both from McAteer. So power to the people there. Listen, what I can say about the cannabis is New Life will not be not growing nothing cannabis or otherwise on the church property. I don't agree with it. I am concerned about it. I'm praying about it to see what I can do and how I can stand up to be a light, because there are churches that are compromising, and I don't want to be one of those churches to compromise the gospel in any way, shape, form. But again, it's just a pleasure to be here. I know that I have a couple of other appointments, or I guess appointments is the best word I can come up with, assignments to be here with you guys. So I'll probably say a lot more then, but just good to be here.
Definitely very powerful. Pretty Tony, because you've been quiet for a long time. What you got to say, Pretty Tony?
I just want to say thank you for the conversation. And I think somebody had said it earlier. The most important thing about what this conversation is about is that these conversation has to keep going on and on. It can't stop here. And another thing that I just wanted to touch on about as far as health and youth and how we can get more in touch with them. I think someone said it too. Like, we have to continue to tell our stories. We need the Pastor Lindas and the Pastor Trinas and the Pastor Bishop Anthony's and Pastor James and people like y'all that sit on hype platforms demonstrating where y'all came from and where y'all going and what exact tactics you took to get to where you needed to go. And what I like to call that is something, what I would like to say, you have ascended from where you was to where you was trying to go. And if we continue to hear more and more stories like this, and even people that don't stand on high platforms, we just need people. Where are you, people? Where are you, community? Where are you, people that can help heal one another? Because it goes back to that saying, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to keep a community upheld. And that's just what I want to say. This conversation is beautiful. I think we probably have to have a part 2, John. And then I also wanted to say to Pastor Anthony, don't pump John's head up telling him that he's Malcolm X and stuff, because I'm already dealing with a lot with him. So don't do that no more, Bishop, okay? All right, we in a good stands right now, but don't do that no more. But thank you, community. Thank you for this panelist. Thank you, John. And this is both sides of the conversations, y'all.
All right. With that being said, I want to go ahead and give those parting words. Today has been a plate full of information. I think we hit a number of topics when we talk about this generational curse and where we going and how we change it. We're going to uplift the positivity. We're going to make the positivity the light and not highlight all the other stuff, because again, we're passing this stuff down to our young people. We're going to empower the young people. We're going to give them the torch. We're going to equip them with the tools and information to uplift them. But with that being said, Pastor Bishop, we're going to move it around. I want to give you an opportunity to give some parting words to the community, and anything that you feel that you want to just give today, because I'm sure you're going to give something. And I know accountability is a big piece, but I think choices. I hope you leave with choices, because our young folks and community folks, we need some new choices in our community.
Well, if you don't mind, Bishop, I'd just like to say what's on my heart, that I returned after pastoring for over 30 years, and I had turned over the ministry to a young man, and he decided that he didn't want to pastor the Lily anymore. So I returned after 3.5 years to pastor again. And the words that God gave me, he gave me these instructions, three things that I want to share and point out. He says to me to manage every moment, navigate through every season, and take nothing personal. And if I would leave anything with you on today, it's the words that the Lord gave me in order for me to be a productive man of God and a productive, even in society, to manage every moment, navigate through every season, and take nothing personal. That's what I want to leave today.
Wow. Very powerful stuff, Bishop. Thank you for that. That was what we needed. Community. You heard from the Bishop. All right. Pastor Trina, give some part words to the community, Queen.
Thank you. It is always such a blessing and a pleasure. I enjoy being on this platform. So thank you, Angelique. I appreciate you and just your drive to ensure that this show continues. Tony, Khalees, you all are a blessing. What I wanted to say is that I still strongly believe in the love, the power, and the connectivity of our communities. I don't think that our communities have lost love. They just are intentionally being distracted by being under or unemployed, by worrying about their food, worrying about safety. And when you're in that type of situation, you're unable to show up in all of the spaces. But it's through building relationships and being there for one another that we can start to come out of some of that and show up in places where we need to. I am praying for my community. I'm walking side by side with them. And I know together with what you're doing, Bishop John Henry, with what's going on in New Life and Lily of the Valley, Victory and Praise, along with all of the amazing organizations that exist throughout California, actually. I don't think there is lack. I think there is abundance, and working together, we can go get the abundance that will help heal our communities. Thank you.
Wow. Very powerful stuff. Thank you, Pastor, for giving up your time and being here today. It's always a pleasure. Great information and the wisdom. And make sure y'all go pick up that book, Sleeping with the Bishop. All right.
Yes. Yes.
Not this bishop, okay? All right. Miss Linda, please go ahead and give some parting words to the community.
I just want to say I agree wholeheartedly with Bishop Willis in the words that he gave. I think that in this season, we have to be open and willing. And as a woman of faith, just prayerfully minded that we can make a change, and no obstacle or no circumstance is greater than our God. And we just have to believe that if we are willing to do the work and get on our face and seek him, that he will give us a solution to all of our problems.
Wow. Thank you, Pastor. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you as well. Just thank you for your knowledge, your wisdom, and your patience, and just being of service. So thank you. Brother James Johnson, I'm challenging you, brother. Give a word to the people.
Listen, I can't give a word to the people better than what has already been spoken. I would give some advice is to one, say, if you did not write down what Bishop Willis just spoke a short time ago as his parting words, you definitely should have written that down. And if he didn't, somebody please that caught that, put that in the comments so they can take that and leave with that. I thought that was very profound. The one thing, the additional thing I would say is to just be cognizant of the airwaves in general, right? Kind of whatever is the prominent thing spoken or the noise that you're hearing, before you will kind of attach to it and take it and run with it. Step back and really look at what the intention of it really is, right? And it's like, because we have a thing now with the invention of Google and social media and all of that, that there are people who will, they'll go to research. You can find anything you want, any thought process, anything if you subscribe to, you can find it on the internet, right? You Google a particular thing, and these many articles or things will come up, and it may speak to or support what you're looking for, and it can be completely off base. One of the things that I teach the young people that I have the privilege to speak to is research the author, look and see who wrote it and what they are about, because it will lead you somewhere. If you actually will do the real research, they'll say, I'm researching a topic, and you brought up COVID earlier. People will say, oh, they didn't get COVID because it was doing this. Well, where did you get that from? Well, I was doing my research. You're a scientist now? I didn't realize you were a full-fledged scientist. They were on the internet doing research, and because this person didn't want to they wrote a whole article about why it wasn't good to take the COVID vaccine. And then when you research the individual, you come to find out there's a different intention behind what they did. And so I would say just don't grab a hold to everything you hear over the airwaves, and really take a step back and do some due diligence before you begin to take it and run with it. But that's it. But again, thank you for putting that in the comments. Capture what Bishop Willis said. It was very profound.
Very powerful stuff. Thank you, Brother James, for your commitment to the young people, your commitment to the community. Continue to do the work. Elevate the young folks. Elevate the minds. Continue to do your thing. Lead and demonstrate what's possible. You are doing that, and we're looking forward to working with you soon. All right. With that being said, Khalees, then Tony, then I'm going to give the benediction, and then Bishop is going to give us a prayer. Khalees.
To the community, you have the power to change the narrative. And so I empower you to go ahead and break the generational curses.
Yes.
Thank you, Khalees. Pretty Tony, before you leave, Pretty Tony, give some words to the people. We need to ascend today.
Remember, community, be accountable, walk in intention. And most of all, just know that you have a choice. You have a choice to change. You have a choice to make the right decision. You have a choice about who hangs around you and who you hang around. It's a choice. It's a choice to be. Remember, we are blessed and we highly favored. Thank you for this platform. Community, we got this. Together, we will ascend.
And we will keep ascending. With that being said, okay, because I am the community bishop, and I will give a benediction to the people before the day, because this is always what I do, okay? Because I picked it up from the bishops, okay? So, with that being said, community, today has been a great conversation. You heard from some amazing pastors, some folks in community that are doing amazing work. When we talk about breaking generational curses, it starts with the conversation. It starts with leadership. It starts with accountability. You've heard it so many times. You heard from the bishop today. You have a choice. It is up to you. The choice is yours. Take back your power. Do your part to lead if we want to make this change. Every recipe has certain ingredients that has to go in there to put out the dish that is needed. It's been a recipe in our family that we've been holding on too long. We've heard it all the time. This is our recipe. If I give it to you, I have to kill you. We have to change that, because some of the recipes that was passed down to our community had some missing ingredients that should be removed, and there should be some that be added. Today, we are adding to the recipe. We are adding accountability. We are adding the choice. We are adding telling the truth. We are adding people that are standing up. It is your time to stand up. The community, no matter if it's in the spiritual realm or in the community, it is our job. It is our duty to lead the next generation. They will pull us forward. You do your part. Lead and demonstrate what's possible. Make sure you are not afraid to be vulnerable to tell your very story, because your testimony might be the information that is needed to change the mind of some bright young person in our community. When we talk about bridging the gap between the elders and the young people of the community. You heard from the bishop. Keep an open mind. Navigate through the seasons. Be willing to be open to have a conversation. Young people, listen. Elders, be patient. Make sure that when we lead, lead with humility, compassion, and love of all. Do our parts. We can make the change. We're talking about changing the narrative from our voices today. You heard the voices from the people that uplift the community. Find somebody that you can connect to. We're talking about energy. There is a need of love, an energy that will uplift. There's an energy need that we can propel our community first. We have to do it, community. We have to be intentional. This ecosystem that we're talking about, that we're building of Black love, Black power, Black wealth. It starts with working with the generation. The elders have the information. The youth have the energy. Together, if we equip them, we can move our organizations. We can move our churches. We can move the people in our community forward. We will get there. There is a pot that is boiling in our community. The enemy is coming. There's spiritual warfare. But we as community, we have to walk in solidarity 365 days a year. And sometimes we're going to have the difficult conversation. And sometimes we're going to have to challenge each other. And sometimes we're going to have to listen. And sometimes we're going to have to make choices that we don't want to make. Can you lead? Can you be the vision of the future? No matter where you at, on the streets, in the church, in the community, can you lead? We got enough followers. We got enough people who think they know. Are you willing to take the step? I keep saying, in this community, we must step and stand. Step and stand. We cannot bend and break. Sometimes you do have to hold and fold. We've been folding for a long time, Black community. It is time to take a step. It is time to take a stand. The things that's been going on in our community has to change. It cannot be the family secret. It cannot be, oh, this is our people. No, we have to speak up. We have to change, and we will get there. With that being said, that is the benediction from the bishop. Now, we're going to turn it over to the real bishop so that he can give a prayer to the people, because our community, they need a prayer to break these generational curses. We need a prayer. We need a word from the bishop. We need a prayer that's going to uplift the young people, uplift the elders in the community. Bishop, give us a prayer, because our community is in need of a prayer. With that being said, Bishop, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Bow down heads, my Father. In your word, you said, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. And we thank you. We thank you for this team that is responsible for this conversation, and to the panelists, God. Now, God, continue to bless our community. Bring us together so close, let no air come between us. Make us one, God, and not only allow us to deal with the problems, but give us answers and solutions, God. Let your glory be revealed. And we speak change to the atmosphere. We speak increase, abundance, and overflow. And those, God, that does not have you as their personal Savior, God, please draw them and bless them. Bless our coming in, bless our going out, bless the fruit of our hands and the fruit of our labors, God, and bless. And we call it done in Jesus' matchless name. We pray. Thank God. Amen and amen. God bless.
Community.
Amen to the real bishop. Thank you, Bishop.
Amen.
Tony just want to fight today, but community, there is some pastors here today that are leading some phenomenal churches.
Thank God.
You are looking for a church that is leading the people. If you are looking for great leadership, there's some phenomenal folks here today. Reach out. We'll get that information out for you all that came in late. Go to our YouTube. Go ahead and check out today's show. Go back and look at some of the powerful statements and words and comments that was made today. Check out Brother James. He is for the young people. Parents, when you're looking for leaders, here's some phenomenal leaders here. To the pastors, we pray that all of you continue to do the work and uplift the people. With that being said, community, our next live show is this Tuesday at 7 o'clock. We will continue every Tuesday on our Hidden Gem segment to highlight our Black and brown businesses, our community leaders, and folks that are doing positive things to impact our community, like these phenomenal folks here. You'll see them on our Tuesday Hidden Gem segment. And then this Thursday, we're going to have a phenomenal educational Thursday. And our pastor here is going to be coming back to bless the community. So make sure you tune in, community. We have some phenomenal things coming up into the community. We know our bowling event is coming up. You have to register. People keep texting me. It's a free event to everybody, but you have to register. Please make sure that you register so that you could get into this event. We are getting close. People are signing up and our numbers are increasing. So please make sure you sign up if you would like to be a part of our bowling event. And then families that want to get their young people in to do the essay and win the $500. Please get your information in. Send those essays before February 11th. We will be choosing our winners, so make sure y'all get them in. With that being said, today has been powerful. We love what we do, and we're going to continue to do it. We're going to continue to have these conversations. We're going to continue to work to change the narrative in solidarity for the people always. With that being said, we love y'all. Good night now. Be safe out there, and we'll see you all soon. See you on Tuesday. Have a blessed
everybody. God bless everybody.